In mid-March, with COVID-19 sweeping through Atlantic Canada and social distancing protocols coming into effect here in Nova Scotia, Strait Area Transit took its vehicles off the road in Richmond, Inverness and Victoria counties and the town of Port Hawkesbury. However, that break ended on August the 4th when the transit cooperative returned its vehicles to the highways, albeit in limited service. To get a sense on what exactly is available to transit customers and how the transit cooperative is going to survive through 2020, I spoke to the chair of the board for Strait Area Transit. He is a municipal councillor from Inverness. His name is John Dowling. Here's that interview right now. And joining us today on the phone is the chair of the board of directors for Strait Area Transit. He is also the municipal councillor for Inverness County's District 6. We're pleased to welcome John Dowling to Telile 24/7. John, thank you for joining me this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me this morning, Adam. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
No trouble at all. So obviously we have you here because of your role with Strait Area Transit and because this week is a big week for the transit cooperative. You have been able to get vehicles back out on the road for the first time since mid-March when the pandemic really swept through and Nova Scotia's state of emergency kicked in. Can you give me a sense of what services are available through Strait Area Transit right now and just basically how many vehicles and drivers do you have out there? What does Strait Area Transit look like these days?
We're coming into this kind of slowly at first. We've had some changes over the summer, and so what we started out as, because of just kind of feeling our way through with COVID and so on, we started out initially just as doing medical runs and smaller family charters. So if you have for a wedding or something like that, we're just going to kind of feel things out for the first couple of weeks to see how it works. And there's still a lot of anxiety out there about getting into public transit. If you're getting into one person in the vehicle or two or three and so on. So we're just easing our way in at this point, just over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how things are going to run once we get into September, once the schools reopen.
So just for clarification, I just want to make sure. So the fixed routes that Strait Area Transit has had in Inverness and Victoria counties and the Telile service that you folks have had for quite a while in Inverness, Victoria, Port Hawkesbury and Richmond, those are on hold for the time being, or are they there in a small version?
No, they're on hold right now. Like I say, we're basically just fixing more or less on the Telile, just to basically get those important appointments and so on. And it's the same as before. We'll go to if you got a hospital appointment or a medical appointment anywhere in the area, or Halifax, Sydney for that matter, we'll do those runs for now. And hopefully, as time gets through, then we'll get back and we'll be able to open back up into the fixed routes that we've always had in the past.
So how many drivers and actual vehicles would you say are on the road right now, or at the very least are ready to go should there be any kind of calls coming in of this nature?
Right now, that was part of our plan over the last few months. In the last month, we did bring in, we met with our drivers, we met with any staff we had, basically getting the buses ready. So we probably have anywhere from 9 to 10 drivers that are ready to roll if need be. Our buses, we've been working over the summer to make sure that they have been ready, because we didn't know what was going to happen. Of course, we could have opened up in July if things had been available and so on, but we didn't. And so the buses are everything we have out there is ready to roll. So we have there's about 8 buses there that right now that we have available, and also Strait Area Transit also looks after Victoria County Transit. So those 2 buses that we have in Victoria are also they're back into their fleet and they're ready to roll as well.
What are the protocols for Strait Area Transit in terms of wearing masks in the vehicles, both for drivers and for the clients that would be coming on? What are you folks asking of them?
Basically, the masks are mandatory. That's coming right from the Department of Health, from Dr. Strang. So drivers, if they're in the vehicle, regardless if they have passengers or not, are required to wear a mask. Passengers, of course, when they get on as well. And the buses, of course, we've changed everything so that, of course, the buses, besides their daily cleanings that they would have had regardless of COVID, they're getting cleaned in between every passenger. So that handles are getting wiped down, seats are getting wiped down, and so contact. It's going to be cleaned and wiped. Hand sanitizer will be available, and everything is so. If you were to call up and make an appointment today, Adam, you're going to be screened, of course, for that when you call, just to go through the protocols. We'll let you know, of course, that you do have to have a mask. We'll ask about travel if you've been out of the province and so on. So a lot of the same protocols, almost as if you were coming into the province, and everything we can to do to keep the buses sanitized, it'll be done.
I want to ask a little bit about the business end of Strait Area Transit in this pandemic year, John, and I want to begin with a question from the personnel side of things. I know Jesse McDonald stepped down as Strait Area Transit's general manager just before the COVID-19 social distancing protocols kicked in. Have you folks been able to find a replacement for her during that time?
Well, yes, we have. So Jesse moved on at the end of March. So we basically the board, for the most part, in between when we were closed, we were looking after the business part of it. We were not running. We were doing the odd little run here and there. We did do a couple of food hamper runs for the municipality of Inverness County, and we did do the odd medical, depending on the circumstances. So personnel-wise, the board kind of looked after that, mostly myself and Councillor Mustard during the summer. And so we did hire so we did advertise. We brought in a new manager. Her name is Amber Kerrigan. So she's been with us for about 6 weeks now, and so we kind of threw her in, and she's been reorganizing, resetting everything up, looking after the day-to-day operations and coordinating everything from drivers' meetings to all the protocols and the policies, and getting the vehicles where we're at right now for ready to roll use.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to being able to speak with her sometime down the road as well. You mentioned Councillor Jim Mustard just a moment ago, and he was the chair of the board back in the spring. I spoke to him and asked him about the difficulty in terms of being able to just basically throw the lights on and keep the service running, not just during a pandemic year, but there have been challenges that Strait Area Transit has faced in other years as well, too. How are you all doing in terms of being able to just basically get through 2020 and be able to prepare Strait Area Transit for the future?
The funding is still there from the municipalities. Richmond and Inverness, of course, is still contributing financially. We did reduce it just because of the numbers, the ridership being down, of course, while we were closed for the last couple of months. Port Hawkesbury still does an in-kind donations for office space for the garage and the business office. So the province, through Community Cultures and Heritage, they've been great over the summer. They want the buses back on the road. They want to see people in them, and they've been great with financial assistance, of course, as they always have. And they've also come through with financial assistance for sanitizing equipment, PPE, and so on. So they've been there. So it took us a little while to get reorganized. Just where the board does not, we normally don't do the day-to-day operations, of course, right? But we've come through it, and I think we're finally back up on where we should be. It's always going to be a challenge, of course, Adam, right? With our funding, of course, and we always want more, of course, but there's never enough.
It's been 12 years since Strait Area Transit kicked off, and you've been the board chair, as you mentioned, for a couple of years now, and have just recently come back on board in that regard. Can you give me a sense on what positives you take away from what's happened in the last 5 months? And some may say, well, there's not a lot of positives to be gained in a situation like this, but is there anything that you and your staff and your Strait Area Transit colleagues can look at and say, well, we learned something here and this will help us out in the future?
Oh, definitely on that end. We've I think everybody likes a good challenge, and we've grabbed it. We've shown what we can take in the midst of a pandemic, work through it, get things back up and running. I mean, initially we had, we kind of planned, late August, early September before we thought we'd initially be back up on the road first. So we've been busy over the months. We've learned that we can work with what we have. We know we can take resources from here and make them work with the little bit we have. And it's been a pretty challenging summer. But at the same time, we've been getting the feedback from the public, from the government, from the province, even from our own municipalities and our board. It's a service that we need. It was missed while we were closed, and until we get back up and running completely, we're not out of this. But again, we've learned that we can knuckle down here and get by with whatever changes have been thrown at us through the province due to the COVID.
All right, well, I'm glad you're looking at it so positively. We've covered a lot of ground in a short time, John, and I appreciate you giving me some time today. Did you want to add anything else about all of this concerning Strait Area Transit before we wrap it up?
Well, I guess just quickly, Adam, just I want to thank the public, the riders, that we've for their patience over the summer. It's been a trying experience, and we just want to let the public know that we are working on opening things up further. It'll take some time, but with everything else, as long as nothing changes with COVID-19 in the next couple of weeks, we're looking forward to getting back into full service so that we can get everybody that needs to be out there, if it's for medical trips, shopping, or just to go visit a neighbor or relative, a couple miles down the road that they couldn't get to over the summer. We're going to be happy to assist, hopefully in the very near future, for the way we were in the past.
Well, I do hope that you'll be able to achieve these goals, and I want to thank you, John, for giving me a couple of moments here to talk about the relaunch of Strait Area Transit and what we could look at for the future. Thanks again for joining us on Telile 24/7 today.
I appreciate you allowing me to speak. Thank you very much, Adam. You take care.